Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is episode 4 of Disc-Heads, an amateur disc golf podcast. This is episode 4, What is a Hyzer? I am one of the co-hosts here on this podcast, Lee, and mate, I'm telling you, this episode is going to be very educational for you guys out there just starting off, because I've had no research in this at all this week. Last week, or the previous episode, I did a ton of stuff with the numbers. This week, I'm coming in completely cold, probably like you guys as well out there. So expect a ton of good stuff from this podcast. On this podcast today, we have no Ben, unfortunately. He's a little bit busy this week, so we're going to see him on Sunday when we talk about, on our next episode, about some of the golf fun shenanigans we had planned to do for this episode. So we're going to move it back an episode. But I'm going to hand it off to the main man with a plan, Dan, the main guy behind this podcast. There you go, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Welcome to week 4. I say week 4, episode 4, because we're about to miss a week.
We took a week off. It was nice.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Yeah, jobs, life, bills. As Lee said, Ben's not with us this week. He's going to be joining us again next week. This week we're going to be... What have I got written down here? Sorry.
A lot. There's a lot in this episode.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be discussing disc language, learning technique, how we improved our game. We got a beginner tip and a disc of the week. But this week we actually went to travelling.
Yeah.
Mansfield. Yeah. Home of 2 disc golf courses.
Yes.
Play one in the morning, play one in the afternoon. Sherwood Pines and King George V. Said of in Mansfield, but we never actually went into Mansfield.
We weren't in. We were around about Mansfield. I feel that's the best way of putting it, weren't it? We weren't in Mansfield. It was like the outskirts, wasn't it? A bit.
Yeah. So Lee's going to give you a brief overview of Sherwood Pines, and then I'm going to discuss King George V. But before Lee goes on, little tip: if you do decide to go to Sherwood Pines,
yes, here we go. I was going to say you're going to bring this up. I thought so.
Google where the car park is, because if you use UDisc and go to where that tells you to, you go down what can only be described as a motocross.
I think your brother put it best, as in when the Essex boys got, the infamous gangsters met their demise. I think that was that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
It was like a rally course crossed with a motocross course with literally we're apocalyptically walking. Well, not walking, but driving into like the middle of nowhere. Although I was freaking out because like how beautiful Sherwood Pines is. I was literally like, it's like Endor from Star Wars.
We did expect some Ewoks to.
I was praying for some Ewoks, but unfortunately they're not real. But yeah, it's Sherwood Pines is, I would say, for me personally, it's absolutely beautiful. I love that place. It was really, really pretty. When we eventually found the course, because like we were saying, we ended up parking on this crazy road, and it was like, I think you went and asked a guy, didn't you?
Yeah, there was a lot of cyclists down this road that, we didn't know at the time. I'd read that there was bike tracks there, but there were
huge
a
ones.
lot of big bike tracks there. So if you're a cyclist, it looked like a good place to go as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went and asked the guy, and he pointed me in the right direction of the golf course and said 15 minutes up that road, which was actually about 20 minutes. Nice walk though.
It was really, really, it was a good warm up is the best way of describing it, I think. And then we got into the center of the park, where this place, when we looked at it, we knew we were getting close because we saw the odd basket here and there. And it's a 9-hole basket, which It's really, really nice. It's in the middle of the park, right next to the cafe. There's actually, toilets available and stuff like that. So it's really, really nice if you wanted to make a day of it.
What looked like an amazing kids' play area.
Gosh,
as well.
mate, that thing, if you're a kid, geez Louise, that's like...
Where was that when I was 10?
Mount Rushmore,
Right.
yeah. Like, where is that when I was a kid? And there looked like there was, like you were saying, there's loads of bike trails. There's, like, some sort of treasure hunts going on and stuff. There was literally so much going on this day. The one thing that caught me off guard, which I always laugh at, is footballing. There was like football goals with pristine nets, and I literally lost my
bleach white netting.
Yeah, I was like, you never see this anywhere. Like, the nets are always haggard, but these were just well kept. But yeah, we went there and it was very busy, which was quite nice to see. Lots of families and stuff like that, and it seems like a really good day out for anybody, not just disc golfers. And we got there, and then it was 9 holes, and most of them are, I want to say, between 70 to 90 meters, I think.
Yeah.
About for distance between the tee pad and the holes to the baskets. And honestly, I absolutely loved them because we were like, these are possibly like good. If we get a good throw, we might, get a couple of possibly our first ever aces.
I mean, I think one of those was actually 50 odd meters.
Yeah, I think the first one is 50 meters. I think because that's the one that we were like licking our chops at a little bit.
Yeah, when we read it.
Yeah. But honestly, it was really good. I absolutely loved it because it was when we were looking at it and I was talking it because this was the second time Rich, your brother, came out with us as well, and it was really good to see because he starts to understand what we say now. A little bit, like it seems easy, but it's quite technical. Like Sherwood Pines has some open holes, but it also has some holes enclosed with woods. So trees, yes, the game of good tree, bad tree came out in our rounds, but also at the same time it was a very challenging and technical course for a beginner and an amateur, and I think it's really, really good. Just because of that, because obviously you can. Our regular is Bedworth, and Bedworth is very open. There's a few holes I would say that are, there's fair amounts of trees by them, but this was very more technical, as in what disc should I use? Is this the right kind of area I should throw putters from, etc. It was really asking those questions for us, like as a group. I think just going, what disc selection is key here? It wasn't like, right, on this hole, I'm going to throw my speed driver or, a driver of some sort. I actually need to throw a mid-range here. I could actually throw my putter on this hole because I need that, or lay up, etc. I absolutely loved it. It was the first time I ever threw my berg around a bit as well and realised the berg is actually, I need to start throwing that a little bit more closer to the hole because, the berg is amazing. Yeah, it was really good. And I was like, I bought this for a reason, not just because Ben's not here to defend himself, so I can make a joke now. Ben kind of pushed me in the direction of getting a berg, and I was like, sure, I'll get it, because, why not? I'm a glutton for punishment, and I love spending money. And, I really rate the berg, and the berg on that course especially is really good. And I think also, looking at it, it's a nice 9-hole course to learn your discs, as in, if you're not comfortable throwing discs, it's possibly a really nice course to go, I want to try and learn this disc and this disc. Let's go just throw those discs and see how it goes. Because I feel like you can have too many discs sometimes in your bag, and you'll always go to certain discs and be like, I'm going to just throw that.
Yeah, like you're saying, we're using different discs around Sherwood because we get so used to using the same disc in our bag. So like Bedworth hole 6, I'll always select the 8 because I can always put it in the right place. I know where it's going to land.
Yeah, and I think it was ideal because honestly, like, it was just nice to throw other discs that we don't normally throw. So like me trying my premium Maestro out again was fun because I love my original Maestro because I've beat that in and I know how that flies. But like we touched on it on the last episode, was like it's a different plastic compared to what I've been throwing and still trying to figure that out. That was fun. And it was just really good. It was also good to see you throw the Sting really well. Like that was really cool to see. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, there was a good mixture of shots. I felt like the first handful of holes were very tight. if you had an open drive, which you didn't really have an open drive, there was always trees in the way of the baskets. You had to think about both how you was releasing and how you was going to bend in the flight. And I don't think that, there were lines to take and try and go for that ace.
Yeah.
But there weren't clear lines.
Yeah.
And then there were shots that were a bit further, still in the foresty bit, and that was quite nice because, again, and like you're saying with the disc selection, the different holes presented me with different challenges.
Yeah.
What disc do I actually you pick out here? And actually lending my brother a few discs, so we had the Buzz.
Yeah. Tried the Buzz for the
that was
first time.
out of my bag.
Yeah.
So I was using the Zombie a bit more for the straighter shots, where I was actually saying in another episode that I use the Zombie to have that bit further than I do the Buzz.
Yeah.
But I went to use the Zombie as a bit of a closer shot.
Yeah.
And that made me learn that disc a bit more.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. And I think the other thing as well to take away from like Sherwood is the fact that how the course is laid out and designed is really well.
I like the fact that you mentioned it was busy and it's roped off.
It's roped off, and it was like, I'm trying to think. We didn't kill anyone. We had a few people stop and watch. That was awesome. You almost had your first ace.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to talk about that this week.
I don't know. I think we got to, because the worst thing that we always joke about this when we go out and play, when people come up to us and go like, do you have to get near it or in it? And then the odd comment, which I love, my favorite comment ever, is like, oh, so that's what they're for. That's my favorite one. Like,
what did you think they were for?
Yeah, I'm just curious. And like we were saying, the course design, it's kind of in a giant semicircle of the park. So when you finish, you pretty much finish down the bottom, and then effectively you just walk back up, and you can either go for another 9 if you wish, or you do what we did after a few. We just went, let's throw from this tee pad to this tee pad and just try out discs and just name discs and just throw them.
Yeah, it was quite enough for us to go 1 to 2. And 3
and
to
it was
5
and it was just a ton of fun. I would highly recommend it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a great day out. Like we honestly, looking at it, we could easily spend a day there. Like, have a few hilarious rounds, literally take a disposable Barbie or just a picnic or whatever, and then create your own holes if it's quiet or whatever. Because honestly, it was just really good. And also, I have a portable basket, so I'm literally tempted to go, when we go there, I'll bring it, so we can just make a really stupid long hole and just park it differently within the pines as well, because there's probably areas around there you could do that as well. So but
the in-laws really like a walk. We do travel, and we go on walks down canals and stuff. And in fact, they're just taking the kids to Cardiff, and they end up going on a couple of big walks. So I actually thought the next time they planned a big walk, I'm going to be saying, well, let's go to Sherwood Pines.
Yep.
And,
yes.
There's a nice place to walk, and we can get the discs out of the car, and I can show you a couple of you disc golf. And
I honestly think like it's just ideal for beginners as well, because it's the holes are not too long, so you can't feel like a bit defeated by going, how the heck is it this? How many throws have I got to get it there to make par, etc. It's actually just really nice, and it was just really good fun. I absolutely loved it. It was a great beginning of a day, even with the hilarious should we say dirt track parking. Thanks you, Disc. Other than that, it was good. And I think, what were you saying? It was like a $5 for like all day parking or something, you were saying?
I think it was like £3 for an hour, £4 for 2 hours, £5 for 24 hours.
So you could be there for a long time. I really, really liked it. And that was one of 2 courses that we went to, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah. Just going back to Sherwood.
Yes.
So you could actually rent discs. We didn't need to, so we just kind of ignored the fact that you could, but we never looked at where or how much, but you can actually rent discs there.
Or what discs?
Yeah.
Wow, that could have been interesting, actually. Maybe next time we need to go and just ask her, like, what discs do you have for rental? So we can try before you buy. Hopefully good ones.
Yeah, definitely. Also, favourite hole?
Favourite hole? I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3. Either 4 or 5.
Yeah, you look like the longer ones.
Yeah, the longer ones, just because it was really cool. Because some of the holes were in a nice, like, how I would describe it is they did like an inner circle, which was quite nice, surrounded by stones, and then like, you know, bark, tree bark and stuff like that, which was nice. But I did really, really like 4 and 5 because it opened it up a little bit, because the first 3 are quite short but challenging, which is really good. But I think 4 was really cool because there was a lot of trees in the way, so you could see paths to get to the basket. Like, yeah, I could throw it this way, I could throw it that way. But again, disc selection was key. And then the other one was really fun because it was exactly the same, but you could easily go there and go like, cool, it's mandatory to throw between these 2 things or whatever. You could easily make up your own things on the courses, which I think could easily make it more challenging as well. If you wanted to go there and go anywhere this side of the basket is OB, like you could literally add, instead of just having them all as mainly par 3s, you can add a lot to it, I think, to make it
definitely
quite competitive with your friends.
Yeah, my favourite holes were one or 2. I can't decide. They were again both very similar holes.
Yeah,
much shorter, 50 odd meters. However, you know, like I was saying earlier, like it wasn't exactly an open drive. You couldn't exactly, like, you know, there was trees on the just off the tee pad, so you had to think about, you know, where your drive line was, and then there were trees around the basket as well, so you had to really think about your line. You know, it wasn't far, but it was a very, very tight line. And first time round, I absolutely spooned it. But, you know, managed to put it back and get a par. But the shot should be easily birdieable for the distance. However, there wasn't. And that's what surprised me, that there wasn't easily birdieable. You had to work for that.
Yeah, birdie. You did. You had to. 100%. And I think that was the one thing as well I take for granted. Our unofficial putter of the podcast, so many of the things we were going to talk about, obviously with this course and the other course, I just need to learn that disc. I think I was getting
a bit frustrated with it.
I was getting more frustrated with it just because the line's perfect, everything's there. I'm just not giving it enough oomph. Yeah. And then I would literally stop, same place, throw the sensei, and it goes in, and I'm like, it's because of the weight. And that's exactly what it is. And it was just like, I know it's a slower disc, I know it's got more glide and all this other stuff, and it's just like, just got to get used to it. And that's one thing, my takeaway from not just Sherwood, but the other course we're going to talk about as well. So, yeah. It was good, and it was fun throwing putters for a change from like the tee pad and stuff like that, because you always see that a little bit as well when you see it on YouTube, and if you ever do a deep dive for people having just only putter rounds and stuff, you'd love it. I know Ben would love it. Like, literally, Ben would love that course just because it is. You could easily do putter onlys. You easily could.
Yeah, he's had a week from hell, bless him, and he missed out on the golf as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sad Pandas FC.
Yeah. So, yeah, second course was King George V. I presume that stands for 5th. I preferred this course. It was quite open. Had some holes that finished off in trees, but majority of the drives were big open
fairways. Yeah.
I'd say majority of the baskets were open.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
As I say, there's a few that were amongst trees. Yeah. By no means a forest.
No.
There were a few other obstacles such as bushes and stuff. Not so much in the fairway, but with the way that we were throwing and the wind.
Wind did become a factor.
Yeah, they became obstacles for us. I don't know why I preferred this course, to be honest with you. You know, I've actually had a good think about it.
Okay.
And I think it's just purely because it was a good mixture of big drives, curves, dog legs, wooded, on the hills, below hills, down crevices. It was a very good mixture of holes. It's definitely not my favourite course that we've ever been to.
No.
However, you know, I really enjoyed it. $5 to play.
Yeah.
I believe you could rent discs again, but again, we didn't need to. No. It's a UK disc golf stronghold, so I'd be very surprised if it wasn't UK disc golf
discs. Yeah. So like your starter set would probably be in there, wouldn't they?
I'd imagine that's what they'd give you. Which would be quite fun on a summer's day to see a bunch of people throwing the Duke around.
Duke, aka Skrillex.
Oh my god!
That disc. Oh my gosh, the wobble on that thing. Yeah, it's the ongoing joke in our group.
Yeah, I think the only drawback with King George was the fact that it was joined with a pitch and putt course, which I've got no problem with. I've been to a couple now, and they've got this set up. Some have got foot golf on as well, and you know, all the better. You know, get more people out, get more people active. However, and it might have just been our experience with the young, and when I say young lads, we are talking about children here.
Yeah.
That had drivers.
Yes.
On the green, just
smashing balls left, right, and centre, and we're not even kidding when we say Happy Gilmore. Holy cow! These kids were swinging like if they connected, they would go miles. Like they were swinging these clubs like blooming samurai swords at these balls.
There was a moment where you took a drive, and so you stepped up and you went to swing, and then I just heard ping, and I just. Just ducked for cover because I just didn't know where it was coming from because I was concentrating on you.
Yeah.
I didn't know where the ball was coming from, so I just panicked and sort of raised my hands just like that. Yeah, so golf balls are harder to see than discs.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it was nice though. I have to admit, like looking back on it as well, like it's a gated area, so it's quite a big open space.
Yeah, because that was quite a big part.
It was nice. It was a very big part.
It wasn't until we was on like hole 17, 18 when it started running up the back of the course.
Yeah.
And you could see through the fence to the part of the park we didn't see up on entry. He was actually able to go, oh, this is actually quite a large park as well.
Yeah, because obviously, like you said, it was shared with a pitch and putt. And surprisingly enough, like... it was just really open and nice. Like, it's really cool. I think the one thing I would take away from it, which was quite funny for us as well, was the course layout was confusing a little bit on some of the holes. Like, we'd have to throw to a basket and then be like, cool, where's the next one? And it would either be next to it, that's very convenient, or no, just walk back on yourself and across one, and there's the other one. And you're like, okay, sure. It's not the most confusing of courses, but obviously if you've
there were, like you say, there were holes where you could literally go, well, I've just put it here, there's a tee pad right there,
it's got to be that,
and it was that.
Yeah.
And then there were other holes where you got U-disc out and gone, it's all the way over
it's
there.
over there. Okay, sure, that's fine, I guess. But no, I think it was exactly what you're saying.
Hole 11 and 12 where we threw. And then we literally had to walk back on ourselves.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. 11 and 12. Yeah, I think it was 11 and 12. But no, it was great. I agree with pretty much everything you said there, Dan. Like, I again think it's perfect for... I wouldn't say it's perfect for a beginner like Sherwood is. I think Sherwood seems like, because you've got smaller distances, I think that's fine. I feel like this one is more like, if you've gone to a few other courses, this might be another step up for you because it's a little bit more open. It still can be technical on some things, but I feel like if you went with a group of mates, you would not be disappointed at all. I don't think.
No, yeah, agreed. I mean, it costs a $5.
Yeah.
And just to start. So if you are a beginner and got no discs, you're paying that $5, then you're renting your discs, and then you're playing a course that may not be suitable for a beginner.
No.
Like you say, a beginner could play it. A beginner would probably enjoy it. But yeah, like you say, Sherwood was a better beginner's course.
I think it would be, yeah. Just because I think the one thing looking at it as well is sometimes I think distance, everyone is always, because that's always the thing, ain't it? Everyone's always worried about distance, like distance in disc golf. But I honestly think it's down to like, sure, you'll throw this hole and it might be like, I don't know, like a par 3, but you get it in 6. But then you're like, cool, where did I go wrong? Okay, let's try it again. And then you see your number decrease over time. And I've seen that playing at Bedworth with me personally. Yeah. And it's just that. If you're going there for fun and you want to try something out, sure. Like, it's no biggie. You're not going to be like me, Ben, and Dan here who play on the regular and go like, where can I improve? What did I do wrong? What disc do I need to destroy and replace, etc., and stuff like that. If you're going there for fun, I don't see Sherwood or King George being a problem at all. Like you'll have fun. Just be aware of kids and people with pitch and putts, because that's the only one worry we had. Like there was a few people around as well who were playing, and like they were miles away from us, so it was fine. But like when we started to pick up a bit of rhythm, like you, me, and Rich, we were like, we've just caught some people up, haven't we? So we just got to just slow down a bit. But also, yeah, those kids were terrifying. Even with their parents apologising, saying, sorry, guys, we're like, sure, it's fine. We don't mind. We just had to just keep your head on a swivel a little bit in the nicest way forward. Because, yeah, you could just go for a round of disc golf and then immediately go, yeah, I also walk away with a giant, lump on the back of my head.
I think my takeaway from both courses, though, is that when we played Sherwood and I first walked away, I say King George even, I first walked away, I thought I probably prefer this, because if you was to hold a tournament, you would be more likely to hold it at King George than you would Sherwood.
Yes.
However, because some of the holes shared baskets, you wouldn't hold a tournament at King George either.
Yeah, I could see that.
So again, I think they're both very beginner-friendly courses. But if you're looking for tournament grade courses, then maybe not so much. But fun. That's the important thing.
Yeah, fun. It's like, honestly, at the end of the day, it's you get into a hobby or a sport for different purposes. Obviously, we've told you guys why we've started playing disc golf and why we enjoy it so much. So fun is the first thing for us. And, the competitive element is going to eventually creep itself in. I think it's slowly creeping in week by week.
After Richard beat me,
there we go.
Yeah, I was like, I definitely upped my game this week to say, no, I ain't having this.
Exactly. I think that's it, though. I think that's like with anything, it's gonna creep in at some point. And it's you can throw a disc well, and when you've had a bad throw, you're like, right, let's smash it out, forget that throw, get another one in. And that's like with any sport, normal golf or football or whatever,
Yeah.
So
favourite hole from King George, I want to go hole 12, and we just mentioned that hole 11 and 12 we threw 11, and then we walked back to the tee pad, which is right next to 11, to throw 12, and on the way to the tee pad, I was thinking to myself, it's just the same hole. Why? Because the baskets weren't too far apart from when you stood at the basket. And I was quite pleasantly shocked when I got to tee pad 12, because there was this little raised hill between the tee pad and the basket. And you could still see the basket, but you could see this hill just blocking probably about half the view off.
Yep.
And I've not seen that before. And it was good, because where there's a tree, and no one wants to hit a tree, but where there's a tree, you're going to bounce off and hopefully in the right direction. You're not bouncing off a hill. So trying to skim the top of that hill, because if you went too far high over the hill, you were going to clear the basket and put yourself in a predicament on the other side of the basket. You threw it too low, you're going to hit the hill and then have to put over a hill. Yeah. And it's that kind of nice, and it was, I quite enjoyed that, and I think mainly because I've not seen it anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think that's we were because I think there was a fair few holes where the baskets. I think that's one thing we liked probably about this as well, was the fact that the baskets were different heights. Like they were the same height of every basket as what we're talking about, but like their placement. So behind a hill, on top of a hill.
There were a lot of crevices and hills and stuff.
And it just made it way more challenging than being a flat putt, because you're like, right, my disc's landed there, so I'm above the basket now. I need to throw down. Oh, this is different. Or, oh yeah, the hill's in the way. Or half of me is on the hill and half of me isn't. So you're putting from different angles all the time, which was nice compared to what we're normally used to at Bedworth. I don't know what hole it was, dogleg, where I planted the Rockstar. Like, pretty much.
Was it one of the later holes?
Yeah, one of the later holes. Is it
15 or 16?
Something like that. It's round the giant bush, which we.
Oh, it was firmly in.
It was, your brother was firmly in as well. It was good. I like that one just because it was a different.
Oh, the one before, so the one where Richard went in.
Yeah, when we couldn't find his disc, and then it was in the branches still.
Yeah, so
that one.
That was potentially 14.
Yeah, I think it was 14 maybe. That one is nice just because it was a different option, because normally when we play holes, we have a spotter. most of the time. But that one, it was very deceiving because it went round and it looped. So we knew we had to throw it wide to cut it back in. And I knew I had a good drive. But then when we started to walk round, the bush decided to get a bit bigger every single time we got closer to the hole. And we were like, okay, so we might be in trouble here. But I wasn't, which was nice. But I like that because it was different to other holes we've played. Because it is, we know where the basket is, but that you throw the disc and pray that it goes in that direction. And then you're just kind of like, I hope it's okay. And then I'll go find it. And yeah, it was good. And yeah, there was a lot of holes like that, which was great. It's just really fun. And again, it was like disc selection. And also I think because where we were at Sherwood, wind did not take a factor. And it was quite windy that day. Yeah. But we didn't feel that in Sherwood. When we got to King George, it changed. Another day.
In Sherwood, because the holes 7, 8, 9 are all open, aren't they?
Yeah.
It was when we was doing them that
you could feel it.
Felt a bit of a breeze, but like you say, when we got to King George, it was wind.
I've never seen... We all had throws where we saw our discs change multiple levels. Also, our discs... I think one of your brother's rollers blew my mind. My roller blew my mind, which it didn't want to stop. My Maestro just kept going on hole 1. Just kept going and going and going. Your brother's one that went round twice. That was insane. Like we were literally like, why are our discs acting this crazy? And honestly, weather is a thing, and that's like one thing we're still getting used to as well. Because that's also a factor when it comes to disc golf, which we're still learning.
Yeah,
that's why we're amateurs and not pros.
And a lot of that is the way that we're releasing our discs. And we've got to learn that a bit better so we can throw in the wind. So we're actually because I've taken a mick a bit, but you saw me balancing my disc on my finger at Sherwood to gather which way the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
But if we did actually know how to throw a disc at the right angle and stuff, that would actually be useful.
No, probably easier, yeah.
Yeah. Which brings us nicely on to disc language. So let's start with a roller. We can start with a roller because we just mentioned rollers.
Yes.
Self-explanatory, really. Swing your disc rolls. However, there's throwing your disc like a typical throw, and it lands a bit funny and has a roll, and it's all down to luck. And then there's throwing a roller.
Yeah.
You when you first started, you threw a lot of rollers.
I did throw a lot of rollers.
It was something that you mastered quite quickly. Well, mastered's probably not the right word. It was something that you got used to quite quickly.
Yeah.
I still can't do it. I still can't throw a purpose roller.
Yeah.
I try and then just spaz off in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's like looking into this because I was looking in. Like I've said to Ben and Dan that the next disc I want a roller disc, and I want to learn how to throw rollers because I feel sometimes you look at holes and how windy it is. Sometimes you're just like, it's not going to get there, but it could get there in a roller. And from what I've learned from watching Dynamic Discs and Foundation Nation, just loads of other YouTubers, that you throw it at a certain angle so that it'll leave your hand, and then when it flies through the air and it lands on the ground, it will then land at a certain point that the momentum it was going in the air continues on the ground.
Yeah.
And then it will just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. And because as well, wind plays a factor when, funny enough, if you've all rode a bicycle, guys, you know exactly what balance is. When the disc is balancing and just going straight, at some point the wind will take it one way, the ground will take it one way. So you are throwing a risky shot, but also at the same time, those shots pay off big. Like we had it. Just to throw in some cool tech here, the pro tournaments are about to start playing, and they had their All-Star weekend, and everyone was throwing long drives, and eventually the most controversial thing that came out of it from like watching it and listening to other podcasts this week was the fact that some of the guys that won, they won with rollers, and they go, and the biggest thing they were saying was just like, is that fair? You know, it's a shot and whatever. And then some people were like, it's a shot though.
It's a shot.
And and also the thing is, it's a skill competition. Let's be honest. All American sports have skill competitions. No one really wants to watch the skills comp sometimes. But for me, as a beginner, it was awesome to see how they threw the discs, but also some of the other stuff they did, like accuracy contests and stuff like that, was really cool for me to watch, because I was like, I'm intrigued by this. How are they approaching this? And like how they talked about it as well. I was like, I know that terminology. That's really cool. I know that. It's not really, beginner friendly if you don't know any keywords what we're going over right now. But yeah, rollers are really fun. I love them because they're either hit or miss. I should really start throwing them a little bit more, but I've moved away because I wanted to get used to the motion of throwing. And I feel like sometimes, I don't know if it's just me, but rolling is cheating. But again, it's the end. It's the shot.
No, it's a shot.
It's a shot, so you can still take it.
I think that's a good debate for another
It
podcast.
is, ain't it?
Yeah.
It is a good debate, because you could have someone who's never played a game, can't throw it far, but the disc will roll and roll and roll. And it's still technically a shot, so you can't get angry at them.
Yeah, see, when you were talking about that, that's the first I've heard of that. And I was just instantly thinking of, do you remember the volley free kick when they used to like flip it up and then smash it?
Yeah.
The best type of free kick. And it got out.
The Matt Letizia
out.
free kick.
Yeah,
Ugh.
ruled out. Unreal. And yeah, that's going to be a good debate for another podcast.
Because honestly, like, you could throw like a 300-foot like drive. That's really cool. But then if you can do like a 500-foot roller, that's still pretty cool.
Yeah, any way you can get the disc down there.
Exactly.
I mean, if it benefited you, why not drop kick it? You just not far.
Exactly. It's true. So yeah, rollers.
So let's tackle the big words then.
Yes.
Hyzer and flat. So the mistake I made very early on was thinking that this was flight path. I was watching the pros, I was watching YouTube videos, and people were launching their disc, and then the commentator would go, and Macbeth has just thrown an hyzer. And I was watching the flight path and thinking, okay, is that bent? Does that mean bent to the left, bent to the right?
Right.
So that was the early mistake I made. When actually, we're not talking about the flight path. It's actually your throw. It's the way that it leaves the hand.
Yeah.
So
it's like how you grip the disc and then the angle you have it at, isn't it? That's what it is effectively.
Yeah. So looking at it from a right-hand backhand,
right?
A flat is exactly what it says on the tin. You are throwing a disc absolutely perfectly flat.
Yeah.
Ideally, this is how you want to be throwing discs.
Yeah, not a 45 degree, like you're serving a piece, like a piece of pie to someone. Like literally, that's exactly what you want to do. You want a Kung Lao hat throw. That's what you're aiming for.
Yeah. Now, it sounds cool throwing on hyzer and hyzer because that's something new to the sport. That's something very technical to the sport. But I suppose if you want to look at it from a different kind of, and I like to kind of say the word analogy.
Yeah.
It'd be like learning a backhand smash in tennis.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It might be really cool to be able to do one, but you don't need to do it on a regular.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair.
But a hyzer is, so again, backhand.
Yeah, backhand throw. So we're coming at this at a right-handed backhand stance,
I was going to say backhand right-hand, and it didn't sound right. Right-hand backhand.
Yeah.
A hyzer is you release with the left side of the disc pointing down.
Okay, so you're gripping your disc, so you've got it in a flat position. You just tilt it downwards.
Yeah, the left hand side.
Right, so the left hand side, so it's going.
So the back of the
down.
disc, if you're using my thought process, but left hand side if you.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And an hyzer is the opposite. It's the left hand up.
It's tilting it up. Okay, that's interesting because I still don't understand those terminologies. So that's like I was saying at the beginning of the pod. Like, I have no idea. Yeah. That's interesting.
You can look at it the other way as well, like a hyzer is nose up and an hyzer is nose down.
Yeah, okay. I'm literally doing this. It doesn't work on an audio podcast, but my hand is out and I'm just like tilting it left and right. So, okay.
Yeah, and it's as simple as that. It's something I thought was really complicated, but it's not.
No, it's actually that. That looks way more simple than what I thought it was.
And when you release a disc like this, you've got to change your throw a bit, but you're getting different curves out your discs. And you will probably find, if you record yourself, that you think you're throwing flat, and actually you're probably already throwing on hyzer or an analyzer
Yeah, because of your grip.
because of your grip and because of your body and because of everything else and because
Right.
you're not a pro disc golfer.
Interesting. Okay.
So
That's cool. I've just learned something, guys. I've just had a like a light bulb moment. That's amazing.
So let's jump on some other words. Let's play a game, Lee. I'm going to say some words. I want you to describe them in the shortest sentence.
Shortest sentence. Okay.
Spit out.
Okay. Your disc travels to the basket. It hits the chains. Looks like it's going to go in, and it actually spits out of the basket.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on, get in. I'll take that.
Inner circle.
Okay. There are multiple different circles when it comes to disc golf near the basket. Inner circle is, I want to say, 20 to 10 meters to the basket.
I thought it was 10 meters.
Is it 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be 10 then. Yeah, because that's close. Yeah, I'm assuming it's the closest then. If it's inner circle.
I think it's feet as well.
Okay. Metric system for us is so stupid. Like, I love it when it goes like...
I say this, but I do need to check it out. In my head, it was 10 foot from the basket is inner circle.
I'm assuming it's like your park job next
Yeah.
to the thing. Like you're literally like really close. That's inner circle to me.
Yeah.
I think it's 10 foot or whatever it is, because that's what I'm trying to remember now. The tournament we went to as well. Everything's coming back, kind of. I think that's right.
Yeah, I don't think that circle was 10 meters away.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's 10 foot for inner circle, 20 foot for outer circle.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Google. We'll find that out.
Jump put.
Jump put. Right. So there's loads of different stances for putting, but a jump put is when you release the disc for your put, you actually follow it with a step, and that is technically what they call a jump put.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Tomahawk.
Oh, love a tomahawk. Okay. Tomahawk is a throw where if you're in the shrubbery or the bush and there's no way physically out, you aim directly up in the sky and you throw your disc like you're throwing a ball, completely like a madman, up into the sky and praying that it gets to out of the bush and also back onto the fairway. Love that. Love a tomahawk. We threw a few tomahawks over the weekend. I loved it. I love my tomahawk.
I would kind of agree with that. And I have heard the tomahawk terminology used in pro disc golf and used by commentators and stuff.
Yeah.
However, we have also referred to it as a grenade.
Yes.
Now, I always refer to the tomahawk as if I'm throwing it almost straight.
Okay.
So if I'm throwing it like a tomahawk,
Like an axe. Like,
if there's a gap through a tree,
Okay.
and I can't throw it backhand or forehand, and I'm just literally throwing it like an axe through this gap to get myself back on the fairway, I would consider that a tomahawk, and the one that you described as a grenade.
Yeah, a grenade is very interesting because a grenade, there's a guy who does it really well, who you and me both love.
Yeah.
Very much. Kevin Jones. Shout out to Kevin Jones. If you ever hears this podcast, fantastic. Kevin, you're an absolute legend. Love you also.
Although if you did throw a grenade, you wouldn't want to throw it like that.
Mate, how he throws his grenades is crazy. So his grip's absolutely bizarre, but he basically throws it like kind of like an underarm throw. So you know how if you're already looking into disc golf, guys, how we're supposed to throw it like backhand or forehand, 45 degrees. He literally runs up to the tee pad and just launches it like underarm as far as you can go. Like you're just going to like caber toss the thing if you wanted to go like Scottish Highland sports or whatever. And it just goes and you don't know where the disc is going to land sometimes, I don't think. But it's absolutely mad. I absolutely love a grenade throw. I feel like that's probably... a grenade and a tomahawk are very similar, I think.
Yeah.
I think they are.
So some terms that we use.
Okay.
And I don't know what approach for terms for these would be.
Okay.
So we use the term grass trimmer.
Yes.
A very low shot.
Yeah, that just stays above the grass a little bit, so it's like hovering. So kind of like if you ever see like a hilarious UFO, like how they hover in the air or just below the sky, like just below like the city or whatever. We love it where it's just the ground and the disc is like probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5 inches off the ground and it just goes. Like a grass trimmer. Love that. It's a great shot.
A bushwhacker.
Bushwhacker. Right, goes in a bush and you get lost. Like literally, we throw it goes into a bush or goes into a tree, goes into somewhere, and it basically, I'm gonna go bushwhacking. That's what our terminology
You
is.
spend 10 minutes trawling through thorn bushes and
literally trying to find it. Yeah,
and then somebody goes, "It's in the tree."
it's in the tree. It's love that. Love a good bushwhacker shot. It's great. That's the part of the fun with disc golf as well. When you guys play, if you ever play, listen to this podcast, you'll understand that trees and bushes are your friends and not your friends at the same time.
Yeah, going on a little adventure to find a disc. Yeah, it's
100%.
part of the game.
It is.
So, let's move swiftly on. Learning technique.
Yes.
So, there's a couple of ways you can learn technique, really. YouTube.
Yep.
There's a lot of great places out there. You can go onto YouTube and watch people learn how to throw 100 feet more than you could last week. And some of it's nonsense.
Some of it is, I would say, yes. But I also think it's kind of like YouTube is a dangerous place because you can kind of Frankenstein monster like your own throwing technique, taking bits and bobs from everybody else, because people say certain words that mean something completely different to what other people say. And I think with me, it was like, it is a minefield because most of the stuff you watch, you're kind of like, oh, I just watched a video where this guy did this. Okay, I'll go out and throw a disc. Oh, that worked. And then you go out, watch another video, and the guy says, wow, if you actually changed it like this, you're like, oh, okay. And you either throw it further or you throw it exactly the same. And you're like, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's honestly down to you, I think, as an individual.
I also watched a video where they said, don't keep throwing, because what you're going to do is get yourself stuck into bad habits. So it's going to be harder to improve your throw. And I kind of sat back and thought about that one, and I thought, that's got to be the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard, because I know how my body works. I know that, and I suppose like we were talking about the roller a minute ago, if I can learn how to throw 400 feet, which, would be a dream, but if I could learn how to throw 400 feet and I wasn't using Paul Macbeth's technique, why does it matter? Yeah.
You've done it your own way. Yeah. I feel like it's very different when it comes to like us as amateurs and pros. Like brilliant synopsis for me. If we're going to bring in pros into it, all the pros have a specific way of putting.
Yep.
There's a guy out there currently getting a lot of heat because he's getting sued by his old disc company, Gannon Burr. Gannon Burr is a 17-year-old guy who's just left Prodigy Discs, getting sued by him. Hope it all works out for you, Gannon. But he throws a different style of put. So how you're supposed to put, or what people have taught you to put, is you can either do it standing or whatever, and does. He throws from the hip, from the left side hip, and gets them in.
Yeah.
And I've heard a few people, when I've watched him play, say in the next couple of years, people are going to learn his technique. He has brought in a new technique of putting, and they're going to call it the Gannon way. And some people have already started doing it. But they're going to say in the next few years, people are going to start practicing that, and that'll be the way to put.
Yeah.
So you can literally do anything if you wish. You could do any kind of throw or any kind of style and basically make it your own. And if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah.
But I think
like we've said it before as well, like, our drives aren't the biggest drives. They're getting there. They're 200 plus foot. They are getting there. But when we were down Quarry Park and we noticed that the guys that were driving big had no finishing game.
No.
And we noticed some of this in the tournament as well, and we've seen it in other places where some people who have spend all their time working on these big drives have no finishing game. And, that's because they've spent time learning their drive, where we've spent time learning our putting and our
mid-range and stuff like
mid-range.
that.
So, it's what works for you, really.
I honestly think, and I can just sing the praises of a few people. Like, I can tell you now that Latitude 64, their YouTube channel is phenomenal. Not just because I want to support European stuff. Like, one of the guys there literally is an amateur, and there's a fair few people who are in the Hall of Fame for disc golf and also pro disc golfers, and he goes out and plays with them. And basically he went through the process of I've never thrown a disc before to where he is now, and you can literally see his progression as a good as he's progressing. And it's really cool. Like some of their tutorial levels, how to throw discs as well, have been really helpful for me. Like I've loved them. And it's also, they bring a lot of humor to it, because I feel like sometimes some of the instructional videos, it's like, you need to do this and then this and it will work like this. Wicked. And that's fine for some people, but when you see it and they add a little bit of humor into it, going like, the pro would do the throw and then he would take everything he learned, throw it, and then it would just like the music would cut and he'd be like, so I don't know what I've done wrong there. And like just, adding that interject of humor is like, he is us. And it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, Latitude 64, check them out, guys. Really, really good.
Yeah, I'll watch a lot of them as well.
It's funny as hell as well.
Yeah.
And great discs. I need to get a disc of theirs at some point. Well, we do. We have the river. You and me have a river.
I'm sure the Saints Latitude as well.
Oh yes, you own multiple now then. Yeah. Ben has, well, our other friend Ben, who got into disc golf recently, he's got a starter set from them as well.
Yeah,
he has. Yeah, Latitude 64. I would highly recommend, if you want to see what disc golf's all about in a great way and also a humorous way, check them out. Obviously, there's the usual suspects such as Jomez, like literally if you wanted to go see pros play, etc., and some of the fun stuff like they've done recently, which was the putting challenge. That was insane fun. Like literally the world's best players putting in like breweries, theme parks, malls, you name it, doing crazy putts from silly distances and just loads of other fun stuff. And literally you go like, oh, disc golf's not just this and this. It's actually a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, form.
Practice.
Yeah,
lots of practice. As much practice as you can get. You'll pick up on film things. Something that we did this week for the first time. We kept saying over and over again we was going to do it. It's something that's been preached to us through the YouTube videos, but filming yourself.
Yes.
Film yourself. See, be able to see what you're doing, because if you're doing something different in your head to what you're doing on film, you'll be able to correct that.
100%. I knew exactly what I was doing wrong. And I even called it every single time what I was doing wrong.
And it's releasing far too late.
Far too late. I just love holding onto the disc way too much. That's my issue. Disc release at the moment.
I noticed on mine, and mine's very brief. Richard didn't do a great job at filming me on the T-pad. But my foot is not where it should be. My foot is actually pointing at
front foot
angle.
Or back foot?
My front foot.
Okay.
So it's not pointing at the basket.
Right.
It's pointing off to the left somewhere.
Okay.
So I find that quite interesting, because I always thought I'd put it flat to the basket, and it's not. It's at a diagonal off to the left.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Definitely film yourself.
Yeah, I feel like that. It seems weird. Like I'm gonna do it now, but like I look like a nutter anyway when I walk up to a park with a portable basket, set it up in the middle of a field, walk a decent distance away, and just go right. Throw putters at this. Throw distance drivers at this, throw mid-ranges at this, and then just rinse and repeat for like an hour and a half. But it's good. Honestly, I know it's like you were saying, it's just practice your motion. And also, like we were talking about in the previous weeks, like learning your discs. Like one that I love and hate at the moment is the river, just because it's supposed to be... like the idea for this is like a river. It's supposed to keep going and going and going. And the best thing about this disc it does keep going and going and going. So if you throw it wrong, it's going to go in the wrong direction for a very long time. But if you throw it right, it goes in the right direction for a very, very long time.
I had some fun with the river around King George this week.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I think, like, I love the fact that we can look back and laugh at some of the stuff we've thrown. And we know what discs we're good with, so we don't have to worry about that. It's just the other things in your bag. Like... But I think that's with normal golf as well, where you go like, I should really hit this iron here, or I should really hit a hybrid or whatever here, but I'm just not comfortable hitting that. I'll hit the club that I know how to hit. So maybe I'm just going to, not get the distance I want out of this shot, but I know at least it'll be close-ish, so I can then do something a little bit better. So
yeah.
But yeah.
So what would you say is the number one technique that you've picked up over? So we started in October time, so it's been about 3-4 months. what would you say is the one technique that you've picked up over them 4 months that has drastically improved your game?
Hips.
Yeah.
And I say that because, honestly, probably the first month or so I was just throwing my arm and then watching over and over again and other YouTube tutorials. The amount of power, funny enough, that you can generate with your hips and then transfer. It sounds weird explaining it. Transferring from your hips to your arm in one smooth motion to get distance and accuracy is phenomenal. Like, it's weird. It's a weird science, but it just works. Generating power from the hips, and funny enough, when you're doing the run up, putting all your weight on your back leg to then shift that through your hips, so you're transferring all your weight from one side all the way through your body to where you're going to let go with the disc, makes such a difference. Like, literally, I remember when I did that after watching the Latitude 64 video and just went out to I think it was Clarendon Park, and just basically was like, right, let's put out all this in standing. Okay, cool. I can feel the transfer, just throwing putters, just getting used to it. Then I did it with the Rockstar and just immediately went, holy that's gone. That's impressive. It might have been windy. I'll probably throw that. But like, also at the same time, I was like, I felt a difference in that. And then it came more and more like that.
Yeah, and there was this week where, because to begin with, you weren't driving as well. I mean, I was out driving Ben at the time.
Yeah.
But you wasn't even close to Ben. And then this week, you put in the chat that you'd watched this video and it all clicked and all made sense.
Yeah.
And that Sunday you came and you was driving to my level.
Yeah.
And Benny's also driving. So
yeah.
we're all on about the same part at the moment.
We're all I think the best thing about disc golf as well is that we'll always preach this, is it's constantly improving your game. And like we've talked about it as well. We are our own biggest cheerleaders, because we will say, what did I do wrong? And then we know what we've done wrong, but then we will also come alongside and also go like, you threw it well, but that's what you did wrong for it. And then they would literally you'd throw it again and it will work, and you're like, that's exactly what went wrong. And I think that's the one thing if you do disc golf on your own, it's harder to spot. But if you go out with your mates and you're very honest and open about stuff, you can constantly improve. And I think that's one thing we're really good at.
And there are times where you could just cry with laughter, like when their disc ends up behind the tee pad.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, you
then
can.
You don't tell them what they've done wrong. They know what they've done wrong.
No, you just laugh. You can't help but laugh. Like, God knows how many times I'm going like, guys, I'm going to avoid that tree, and you hit the tree directly in front of you. You go like, oh, for flump's sake, why did I do?
I love it when we go, do you know what? I'm going to aim for that tree, and then it hits the tree we aimed at.
And it's perfect, honestly. But yeah, hips is very key. And not just me personally with my weight and everything that I'm working towards as a personal goal for mine. Shout out to my gym. I've had a few...
shout out to you, Lee. You've done really well.
Thanks, man. And basically, I've got like I've even told the guys I have a disc golf workout where, yeah, it seems a bit weird, but also at the same time, it is working. Like throwing medicine balls at a trampoline and having rotation and understanding that and breaking down my throw has been really interesting. And doing exercises that I know I need to do because of disc golf is quite interesting.
Your core muscles.
Heck yeah. Like, your core is key, people. Like, no wonder they call it a core. It's insane. But yeah, hips. Just everything comes from the hips is, just play the freaking Happy Gilmore clip.
It's all in the head. Yeah, it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. Get off of me. Hey, just easing the tension, baby.
It's true. It's all in the hips. It's true.
For me, it was tip of the whip.
Yes.
So I watched a video that described tip of the whip, and I thought I understood it. I understood the logic behind it, and I thought I understood how to throw and get the tip of the whip, and it didn't quite come together. And then I watched another video where somebody talked about the towel drill and flicking the towel.
Yeah.
And now if I want to throw a disc straight, with no curve, no nothing, I just stand at the tee pad and I think to myself, just flick the towel.
Yeah.
And I actually sometimes do the motion a couple of times. Just
Yeah.
flick the towel and just get my wrist ready to just get that proper cracking whip. I knew when I was chasing people around in changing rooms when I was a kid, just like whipping them, that would come in handy one day. Like.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one thing we can take away from disc golf. If you can towel whip someone, funny enough, it works well throwing discs. Yeah.
But it's one of my biggest drills. So if I'm at home and I'm making a cup of tea, I'll be in the kitchen and I'll just whip the towel.
With towel, yeah.
I'll be taking the step and just whipping it like I was actually throwing a disc.
Yep.
And for me, that was the moment when things started to click.
Yeah.
So there are some other things. There are some other bits that's improved my game. Learning about flight path, learning about numbers, learning about how I'm releasing. And I'm sure if Ben was here, he would talk about the fact that his biggest thing was learning how to twist his wrist.
Yeah.
So he's now throwing in his head with his nose down.
Yeah.
But actually, the way the disc is coming out, to me, looks straight.
Yeah. But we've also seen that recently with Ben. Ben wouldn't mind us saying this as well on a podcast. With some of Ben's throws as well, you could tell that were dead straight, but it was way too nose down because it would go straight. Like the Passion, for example, like a few throws he's had where that's gone dead straight, but it's just kind of done, terminology words, grass trimmer shot, and then basically stopped and like skidded forward, hasn't it? And he knows if he tilted that up and he released a little bit higher, that would have been dead straight.
Yeah.
That's it. And yeah, he's got too many cheat discs in his bag, like the Archer, freaking Passion, like literally. Ben has got some like cheat code discs. Honestly, it's so good.
Which actually brings us on to beginner tip of the week. Don't try and do everything all at once. We've just spoke there about tip of the whip and using the hips, and when I was learning tip of the whip, I was also learning how would you describe it, doing a seatbelt motion to throw your arm back? Yeah,
so your back arm is supposed to be like you're driving it into the ground, like you're aggressively putting a seatbelt in or punching the ground, or loads of different like terminologies people use.
I think it was punching the ground that I looked at the time. So I'm trying to throw punching the ground in, and I'm trying to do the tip of the whip, and for some reason I thought, do you know what this needs? Cross step. And
that's the biggest killer.
Yeah, and I was throwing my discs all over the place. I was tripping over myself. I probably threw 3 or 4 like that, and I was just like, do you know what? Let's cut the cross step out.
Yeah.
3 or 4 more discs. Do you know what? Let's take the punching of the ground out. Let's just concentrate on the tip of the whip. I've now mastered the tip of the whip, so now I am thinking more about where my head movement is and my shoulder placement and punching the ground. And I'm able to add this new thing to my game because I've now learnt the old thing, so it's become second nature. Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time, like on the last couple of episodes with everything that comes with it. Like your swing has probably got like 8-9 different things going on at the time. And if you're new and this is all new to you as well, it's like trying to remember those 9 things at once can come to some people naturally. For most people though, it won't work out well for you because you're like, right, I didn't have what went wrong with this bit. Everything else was fine. And especially this is when we talk about filming yourself as well. You get to see like what you did and you're like, cool, that was right. That was that's where it was wrong. My head was not in this place, or my elbow wasn't here. And like you start to tweak it. But it is, I think maybe you just need to just concentrate on one thing at a time and then eventually progressively add them together. But honestly, I think if you pick out one thing, work on that, and then if you've mastered that or you can understand that, then add something to it. Like we stated earlier as well, there's loads of channels out there that can really help your form. Like, what is it? There's a guy who works for Foundation, Robbie something. I forget his name. It's probably coming on the screen on YouTube. Sorry, people who listen to this on Podbean. But Robbie does a really good breakdown of everything, and he teaches as well. So he comes at it from not just a teacher's perspective, but also from himself and working with others as well. And his terminology is really, really simple as well. And he interjects humor as well, because I think that's one thing that's quite key is you need to put some humor in some things. And yeah, little by little, just keep adding. Because normally it's like 5 ways to improve, and you're like, 5 isn't that bad. Put those 5 together, you're probably going to get 3 right. Maybe 2 of them are going to be wrong.
And you might fall over.
Yes, you know, and that's how it happens. And yeah.
Do you know what? Whilst we've been having a discussion, I've got this horrible feeling that this might have been week 1's beginner tip. So I will double check this.
Yes.
And if it is, we'll do double beginner tip next week.
Double beginner tip. Okay, that's fine. That's fine with me.
So one thing I know that we've not spoke about before,
Okay.
I know I've not spoke about before, is this week's Disc of the Week.
Yes, disc of the week.
So, do you want to go first, Lee?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to get you disc out because I forget the flight path of this thing, but this thing kills trees. So, and that is not a joke. The branch that I cut off with this thing is still in my bag.
I say you took his reward.
I
trophy.
did. You know, I basically make the joke of that. When I go to Gillies, I feel like I'm in the Predator movie. Yeah, I was a Predator that day. I felt great. So, funny enough, our unofficial putter of the podcast, the Banger GT, a.k.a. The best putter everyone should use.
Turn it up.
That was interesting.
Turn it up.
Just because for us it's funny when you throw it in and you go, oh, what a banger. We're going with more Discraft stuff. So funny enough, shout outs to you guys. We're going to go with the Raptor. Now, when I threw this in the tournament, the first thing a lot of people said was, mate, that is a beefy disc. And I didn't understand what they meant by that until reading some online reviews. And then I realised why they mean by it, because it's not your average 9-speed disc. So this is a distance driver. Now, the only other distance driver I throw and try to throw and throw poorly is the Destroyer. And that's a 13-speed. I can't throw with a 13-speed, so I wanted to get a disc that literally was a bit more aggressive than the Rockstar and somewhere in the middle between the Destroyer, which I'll eventually throw. Funny enough, I was looking around, and I'm a sucker for names and artwork and stuff like that. And I was like, I just want a 9-speed. I think I'm throwing an 8-speed well. Eventually, I will go to a 10, etc., and whatever. And I've my bag's already going to be full because I already know what I'm going to be throwing, because I've already stated that I'm going to go for Discmania. And I'm going to go with like the Majesty, the Astronaut, and those stuff because I'm a sucker for artwork. So what it basically comes down to, guys, when we're talking about how great this disc is, or how I personally think, the Raptor is a Speed 9, Glide 4, 0 turn, and 3 fade. So when I throw this disc, I know it's going to be a bit of a beefcake because it's going to go, because it's supposed to be a distance driver. The kicker with this is, because it has a fade of 3, I know it's going to finish hard left. And when I mean hard, I mean like I'm dropping a mortar shell on somebody and I know it's going to fall hard.
Yeah, it hooks real bad.
It does. Yeah. It hooks, but that works out for me, because if I know I've got to work on a, say Bedworth, for example, if I know I've got to throw it quite wide to come back on itself, I'm like, this is a shot for the Raptor. I know exactly what it's going to do. It's going to fly, it's going to get there, but then it's also going to go, oh yeah, I need to start fading left hard. And it literally looks like it. Sometimes how I throw it, it literally looks like a U-turn sometimes when it comes down. It's just like handbrake turn left. But I really do like how the Raptor feels in my hand. It just feels great. Compared to my Rockstar, when you ever have a feel of discs and how they talk about like how it's domed or flat, etc. This was one of the first ever flat discs I owned, other than obviously the Destroyer, but I never really threw the Destroyer. I think I threw the Destroyer twice before really getting the Raptor.
Yeah, you're getting better with a Destroyer now.
I know I am. That's because of Jim and also arm speed and generating that arm speed. But for me, I was like, I wanted something that is an upgrade from the Rockstar, and the Raptor was perfect. And sure, it doesn't work all the time, but it's like, for me, it's a technical disc, because I'll always throw the Rockstar because that's my driver. Like my plan originally was I'm just going to get that as my main driver. I know it's going to be eventually put in my bag as just a fairway driver, and I'll be like, that was the first disc that I learned how to become a driver with. But it'll be trusty and always be there, unless I throw it in a river or lose it or it gets stolen or whatever.
I think I've got certain discs that'll end up on my wall. And I think I think Rockstar might be one of them discs for you that one day it might just end up on your wall.
Just be like, oh, that's where it all began. I'm pretty positive whatever I throw my first ace with, I'm not throwing again. I'm going to just put that on the wall for sure.
I do mean the wall of my man cave. I don't think Leanna let me have a disc on the wall of my
I
lounge.
don't know if you could you could pull it off. I'm not so sure. But yeah, the Raptor, I would recommend it. It's not for everybody. I can tell you that for a fact. It's a very, reading online, it's a very controversial disc. If you don't know me, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. So at some point, I would love to put a Raptor on it or something and make it look cool. And yeah, the Raptor, how it's spout on there and how it looks, it looks sick. And also, just because for my bag, I'm always like, I want different colors so I know what distance it is and what disc it is. Toxic Green was the best name for a green ever, and I was like, I don't own a green disc. Yes. And also when it gets really dark you can still see it, so technically it's a cheeky glow disc as well. So yeah, the Raptor, I would recommend it. I would personally recommend it. It's not for everyone, I can tell you that for a fact, but for an upgrade for what I wanted, it does exactly what it is. But obviously, with I know it fading and finishing hard to the left, learning what an anhyzer and a normal hyzer is, or whatever we talked about earlier, maybe I just have to start throwing them in that certain ways to counteract that, to make sure it can go straight, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love the Raptor. It's a great little disc. Well done, Discraft. Thanks for taking my money.
Before I introduce my disc of the week,
Okay.
because there's something I've always wanted to do with a microphone in my hand. And I think for our podcast audience, for you, you'll understand it straight away.
Oh, 100%.
But for our podcast audience, it's worth me explaining that all of my discs have got their own little intro theme. They don't come out of my bag and I just go, oh, I'm going to throw the Sting or I'm going to throw Zeus.
Yes.
They've all got their own little intro.
It's true. I think mine is whenever I'm going to throw the Rockstar, I'm like, hey, I'm going to throw my Rockstar, which gets everyone laughing immediately.
And I can't take the zombie out of the bag without singing zombie.
Every time.
So my disc of the week, as I say, I've always dreamt of doing this with a microphone in my hand, but it's Sting! Yeah. Absolutely love this. Well, say absolutely love this. That's not actually technically true. I've fallen in love with this.
You've fallen in
this
love
week.
with it. Yes.
So, Sting was a disc I got for Christmas. I believe my wife got it me. I think she. It fit quite nicely in my bag. I got a zombie for Christmas as well, which was 6, and Sting was... No, I didn't get a zombie for Christmas. I bought a zombie myself.
You bought the zombie yourself because I went on a spending spree.
It was Zeus.
I have that effect on people, effectively. You guys all know. That was the day I bought... Yeah, because I had to get a Cax because I lost my Magician. And then I also bought the Zero, which was a regretful disc that I ever bought. And then you bought the zombie because you had your eye on the zombie, didn't you? So.
Yeah. So anyway, Sting. Sting is a speed 7, glide 5, turn -2, fade 1.
Yep.
Good. I wanted to throw it as something a bit... we spoke before. The Buzz is my nice mid-range straight flyer.
Yeah.
If I have to throw the Buzz too hard, I'd go to the zombie. And I wanted it to go to the next level. I wanted to if I throw my zombie too hard, I'll just pick up the Sting. And it's just never worked. It's never worked like that. I tried throwing a Sting straight, didn't work. Tried throwing it with a big curve, a big hook, didn't work. This week, playing particularly Sherwood with the shorter course, I decided to take the Sting out of my bag. Mainly,
it was our second round, wasn't it? Because we all said we were going to try something. So your brother was going to try the Buzz.
Yep.
I was going to try the Berg, and you were going to try the Sting. So we immediately said, we're just going to throw these. If we put with them, we put with them. But we want to just throw and get used to them.
Yeah. So I decided that with it being a short course, I was going to play the best hand I know, little backhand, little tiny flicks, no run-ups, just flick it round the trees. And it was amazing how well the Sting worked.
It flew. It was the one drive where we said we were just mix and match in holes, where it just kept going. I was like, holy cow, that's a disc. But you figured out that it's a four. I feel like when we were breaking it down a little bit as well, because you don't throw a lot of backhand, you throw a lot of forehand. That seems a very ideal forehand disc.
I meant forehand. Did I say backhand?
No.
Yeah, I meant forehand. Yeah.
Well,
So,
no, maybe you didn't say it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I think for you, because obviously, when I started playing with you guys, you throw mainly forehand.
Yeah.
But I feel when eventually you get your backhand, the Sting, how it was flying this week and how you've got used to it, I feel like that's going to be a forehand disc. Kind of like what I was saying about the Maestro for me, how I was throwing that madly over the weekend at King George. I immediately was like, yeah, this feels like a forehand disc in the future as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant disc. And it's that little forehand flick that's made me think it's a brilliant disc, because I didn't just do it. Sometimes you will throw a disc and it will go absolutely perfect. You plan it out in your head, you walk up, you throw it, it'd be absolutely perfect. You try and replicate that shot and then not be able to do it. I was able to replicate that shot with a Sting.
Yeah, you were.
Time
and time again this week. Yeah, 100%.
I'm confident that when we go on Sunday, I'll be able to replicate it again if need be.
Oof.
So, disc of the week. Sting.
2 Discraft discs.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 Discraft
2
discs.
Discraft discs.
I've got a lot of Discraft in my bag.
Yeah,
though,
I was going to
so-
say, I think you're predominantly Discraft now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like Latitude.
Yes, I do like Latitude.
In fact, I haven't really got an issue with any disc golf company.
No.
A lot of people have a lot of crap to say about Disc Golf UK, but the Baron is a solid putter, and I will not have anyone tell me different.
Actually, to be honest, your brother was liking the Baron a little bit, wasn't he? To be honest. Yeah, I know. I can understand, like, honestly, I think it's down to personal preference. I'm a sucker for artwork and typography, so if you look at any of my discs in my bag, the majority of it is either got a cool name, artwork, or I just know it's a good disc.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, getting my, I wanted a Magician, but I didn't. But like throwing Ben's Cax around, I immediately was like, I'm getting a Cax because I know they're Swedish. So I was like, bright yellow, yes, let's go for the Swedish flag. That's incredible.
And I like the colours of the Cax, because most of the Caxes are bright yellow and quite bright
coloured.
coloured.
100%.
But the design is just dull.
It's dull, but the plastic's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I literally love Casterplast plastic. I
Come
think...
on, Casterplast need to put some decent vinyls on their discs. That's what we're saying here.
I don't know. Honestly, I think if you wanted to make your dream disc, I would say artwork from Discmania, plastic from Plasticast, and then probably just the feel and the grip of Discmania. Not Discmania, sorry, Discraft. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah.
Just, I feel like everyone has their own personal preference when it comes to whatever, but like, you buy a disc just because you either have it in the bag because you know it's a thing. Like Dan and me were saying on the previous episode, the Buzz. You need to own a Buzz. I don't care what anyone tells you. If they say you shouldn't get one, they're wrong. The Buzz is like, the best way of describing it is like, it's your best disc you'll ever have and you'll ever buy. And I hate to say that out loud, but it's true. I threw it twice and I went and bought one. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
And the internet also says it's one of the best ones. So the internet can't be a wrong place, right?
And Richard as well, you know, like the first week he came, I was determined to not, I would say not give him the Buzz, but I didn't think to give him the Buzz because it was in my bag, I was using it.
Yeah, 100%.
Being selfish.
Yeah.
The second week he came, I said to him, you know, take whatever he wants out of the bag, and he just picked the Buzz.
Yeah.
Because it's pink and we all like a pink disc.
Yes.
And he's fallen in love with it.
That is bloody good
This
disc.
week, again, pick whatever disc you want. In fact, I didn't even say pick what disc you want. He just went, I'll have the mystery and the Buzz, please.
Mystery in the Buzz. He is throwing that mystery miles, which is great. It's so good to see as well.
That's Discraft as well.
Yep.
And
is it?
yeah, Champion Plastic.
Champion Plastic. Yeah, he's liking that Champion Plastic feel. Yeah, like honestly, for what we were saying about like getting our friends into disc golf and family members into disc golf, Rich has really taken to it, which is great to see, because like you would like from the first week, like you could tell like maybe not so sure, I can understand it, and then a few towards the end, I understand this, to then the following week coming out and having a really good time, and then this week you could just see it's like it's now becoming a thing. Like you could see the evolution step of it more than anything.
The last couple of weeks I've rang him, always ring him midweek, and last couple of weeks I've actually said to him, "You come in disc golf at the end of the week, just check in." Today when I've rang him, I've not asked him that question because I'm just presume he is.
Yeah, I'm just going to presume he's going to join. I love that. I absolutely love that.
As far as I know, he's like in for the weeks now.
Nice. He's now becoming a staple. I like that.
So that's for
that's pretty good for good number.
Yeah, I think the dream for me is getting 2 car loads over there.
Yeah, like a proper like mixed doubles would be great.
Yeah. Or maybe 4 of us go around, followed by the other 4, and then we switch it up for a second round.
100%. But the best thing about Rich is we're kind of like, he's coming into it quite nice. I think our other friends who are playing, we haven't met with us yet, they're going to be spoilt rich, because they're obviously listeners of this podcast, and like we talk in our WhatsApp groups and stuff like that about it. Like they're going to be like, oh, I would love to try that disc out. And then they go, oh, that's not for me. Or, oh, that one's really good. I like that one. And it's like we're kind of giving them, a little bites of the cookie, if you will. Just like, you could try this disc out. You should maybe own this one. But then it's kind of cool to see where they go from there. Like, I know for a fact Rich is buying a mystery. I know that for a fact. Yeah. That's probably his first disc he's going to buy. Probably a Baron putter, maybe?
Maybe. I think he might go artwork. I think when he starts looking at.
Yeah, of course. It's a loophole. It's just you go down a really dark path of, oh, that artwork's cool, and then no, I'm not throwing it well, and then you do throw it well, and you're like, yeah, I did a good thing,
Yeah.
Just don't buy too many discs at the beginning. That's the one thing we said, wasn't it, at the beginning?
Whilst we're reaching out to our listeners, if any of you ever do fancy meeting the disc heads and inviting us for a game at your local spot, drop us a comment.
100%.
Once a month we go a travelling. Obviously, if you're Scottish, I'll be A, shocked, but B,
I'll be shocked.
Yeah, but B, we're not just going to come down there on a Sunday. But
it'll be a planned weekend.
Yeah, we couldn't have planned weekend, but by all means. Wrapping it up. Next week, we've got Ben back.
Yes.
Decided I'm not going to do a list of what we're going to talk about next week. No, because I figured that things go wrong.
Things go wrong. I love that.
We are going to be, hopefully, if Ben's with us, we are going to be talking about birdies and close calls. Both me and Ben are now throwing a very close ace, and them conversations will probably come up.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even talk about my Berg shot. Keeping that for next week. Flipping love that shot. Jeez. Scared I'm just going to let you know, scared the shit out of like 2 families having a picnic. Could tell you that for a fact when that went in. Holy cow.
Yeah, so we're going to be discussing some good shots and some positive vibes next week. Yeah. We're also going to be having a chat next week about Bedworth. We're going to be, hopefully... And this all depends on... Well, me and you would definitely be doing this next week.
Yes. Oh, definitely next week.
So we'll be talking about hole 1 or hole 2, depends on how you look at it. So Bedworth removed hole 1. So hole 2 is hole 1.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about that hole specifically.
Okay.
So, join us next week for more disc heads.
Yeah. See you guys in a bit.